This is Car Guys Talk with Andrew and Tavarish.
Hey everyone, how you doing? I hope you're having a great day today.
I was just following you guys.
Hey everyone.
Hitting them with the jazz
Hello.
hands.
Yeah, hey. Okay, off to a great start. So my name is Freddie Hernandez. You may know me as Tavarish if you're on the internet looking for Lambos that have been ceramic coated. Now, thanks to this guy over here.
That's what your stigma is now?
That is my thing.
Oh,
that is my claim to fame as of today.
You got to say straight piped, too. That's
Straight
a real
pipe
cool thing on YouTube.
with the thumbnail of my fingers in my ears going like that. Yeah.
Gone emotional.
Joining me is my friend, my partner in crime, Mr. Andrew Howell,
What's good, family?
aka Mr. Finn Gergens.
You know what it is.
That's right. And across the table from me is Matt Mormon from Obsessed Garage.
I don't know what to do with my hands. You guys have all these cool
Put
gestures.
them in your pockets. Put them in your pockets. It's fine. All right. We don't need. Your hands make me uncomfortable.
Matt,
It's a little
jazz.
sweaty.
I think you got to be jazz hands. Matt, jazz hands Mormon.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
do fit that profile.
Yep.
Yes.
Totally.
So, if you guys didn't know, we had a episode where we talked about detailing and what you can do to start detailing if you don't have a lot of money, like a budget detail, the bare bones kit to get your car clean most of the time, to make it cleaner than you ever thought possible. So, we had that in the previous episode where Matt gave us his expertise, but today we can talk a little bit about detailing as well. But I want to talk more about cars. So you are a car lover, correct?
This is true, yes.
Okay. So you have quite a nice car, and it's right outside. It is a 2016 Porsche 911 GT3 RS.
That sucker's my life pursuit.
It's so nice. I mean, if any of you know what that car looks like, I was never a Porsche guy, like growing up. I never thought that Porsche 911s were, they were kind of like, they were never exotic. And then I saw a GT3 RS. I'm like, that's exotic. That is an exotic Porsche. It has all the features of a supercar. If you look at a Porsche 996, like a Carrera, or 997, because 996 is, let's throw that out the window. Like a 997 Carrera 2, it doesn't look like a supercar. It does not have a supercar stance.
It looks like a sports car.
Barely.
Yeah.
It's not very aggressive at all. It's very kind of like, it's almost, I don't want to say styled by committee, but it's one of those things where it doesn't want to offend you at all. This does not care if it offends you. This is what it is. It's a speed machine. It's seriously, it has, I'm looking at a huge
It has
picture
a
of
presence, yeah.
It has a huge presence.
Even my Stormtrooper white on black, very subtle. Like I don't have a crazy, Miami blue or some crazy color.
Or like the purple, the green.
I see, people, with their iPhones out all the time.
Yeah.
Wherever I go.
So how many of those do they make?
I think total GT3s, they don't publish it, but it's 3,000 or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a few.
And it's a limited run?
No, they don't limit them. They just make them as long as the production cycle calls for.
Right.
And so, how many they can make, They're obviously not having an issue selling them.
Of course.
People are flipping them, and that's been a real problem. In that, like even my case, I'm a Porsche junkie.
Yeah.
And they don't give a crap about what videos you make or who you know or what. It's I can't get, like, I would buy the new Dot 2 if I could get one.
Right.
They just.
But it's really hard to do, right?
I'm not going to pay $50,000 more than what it costs.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so if I get one at sticker, I'll get one, but I'm probably not going to. But I love my car. And don't get me wrong, that a lot of guys who own GT3 say, yeah, I have a GT3. No, like I am like over the moon, can't believe I have it.
Oh, yeah.
Should feel like the bank is going to come take it from me. Even though I own it, I feel like the bank is somehow going to come take it from me.
Isn't it weird? It's like you have a car, like someone's gonna figure this out, like at some point. Yeah. So you've had a few Porsches in your day. Like what have you had before this car?
So my first one was 2014. I built and spec'd a Carrera S, so a 991.1, which would be 2014. And then I basically made it like a mini GT3 because this is when the current GT3, actually the 991.1 in 2014 is when the current GT3 came out.
Yeah.
And of course you couldn't get them. And then they had the stop sale with the fire issues, where anybody who had a car, they made them park it, bring it back to the dealer. They parked all of the ones that were at port, and then just halted until they could figure out what was wrong with it.
What year did that happen? 2014?
That was 14, yeah.
Okay.
And early 2014 is when the stop sale happened. I think it was March. And so I'd ordered and spec'd my Carrera because the GT3 wasn't really, I couldn't get one, even though they were priced similarly. So I got my dream. My dream was to progress. I went from S2000 to M3 to 911, and then eventually to GT3, and then ultimately the goal was to get to GT3 RS.
Right.
And so I spec'd out this baby GT3. They had a complete waste of money. It was called the X51 package.
Okay.
It's what the Carrera GTS comes with.
Yeah. Doesn't the Turbo also have like an X51 package? It's like a sport type thing.
A lot of them do. Yeah. Okay. So a Turbo-esque would kind of be like an X51.
Right. Yeah.
So the X51 was 16,900, and you gain 30 horsepower.
Yeah.
And a little different plenum and things like that. But
it's how the car should have came stock, but then they kind of detoured
yeah, they just held it back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like unlockable characters that are already on the disc,
So I built that car. I didn't do carbon ceramics because I did a budget under what I wanted, and it ended up being like 127 grand. And so I bought that car. I ordered it in November. Did the whole order it, wait for it, track it, follow it. Shows up. I don't let the dealer touch it. I bring it home and I spend hours and hours and hours detailing it.
Yeah.
That's the car I started sharing my life story.
Right. That's where
YouTube.
You start on YouTube, right?
Yeah. And so shortly after I got that car, those cars, not just the X51, but all 911 991.1s had a stumbling issue.
Yeah.
So from 14 through end of 2015, early 16, the cars would have it would be like a hesitation. So from 2 to 4,000 RPMs. Here's my $127,000 car, and it's just kind of stumbling. And Porsche in their normal pompous German style, just drive it harder.
Yeah. I'm like, it's hilarious.
This car is perfection.
Yeah,
and it's stumbling, and there's no fix.
Yeah, actually the BMW M3, the E46 had a hard start issue, and BMW literally said that's normal. Like, there's so many people that said, I can't start it. It takes me like 10 to 15 seconds to start it, and then it's like stumbles and until it warms up if it's cold. And BMW is like, well, what do you want? It's just like a high performance car. That's what you got to deal with. Like, okay, like my Aston Martin, I had there's a common issue. I had the issue where if you drove it real hard and got it really hot, the catalytic converters would get so hot that the cat was right next to the starter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the starter would like seize basically. So if you stopped somewhere after you drove it hard, turned it off, and tried to turn it on again, it wouldn't turn on. So you had to literally just wait wherever you were in order to turn it on again. And I didn't know this because I was doing like a spirited run, and then I decided to stop off and take some pictures, turn the car off, and I'm on a dirt road somewhere over here, like some farmland. Dirt road, very picturesque. I take a bunch of pictures, go to turn the car on, car doesn't turn on, and there's like tractors going by me, and I'm in this Aston Martin. And I'm like trying to push it off the road.
I hope you got a lot of pictures then.
I got a lot of pictures. It was a good day.
Are those the pictures you're using as your cover photo on YouTube?
Yes, I took many pictures because I was there for a while. So you're definitely a Porsche guy. So you had that Porsche 911 kind of baby GT3. Then you got a GT3.
Yeah. So in the whole stop sale thing, is what got me a GT3. So I don't know if I'd spoken this to you guys, but right at that same time is when I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Okay.
So I'm like truly medically diagnosed, is why I called this business or this thing Obsessed Garage, the YouTube channel Obsessed Garage.
Well, it's a good way to make light of a situation. I mean, it seems like it's worked out for you.
Trying to use it for good rather than evil,
I'm just saying, if everybody with OCD had this level, like,
wow.
I think it'd be a good thing. Like, you got OCD, it's like, man, he's doing well.
So that car, that hesitation, that stumble was causing all kinds of problem. It was a large contributor to my panic.
Oh, of course.
So I had like
I
had a 3-month stint where I couldn't function. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't eat. I lost 40 pounds. It's what made me who I am today. Mm-hmm. But that part of it, my wife just said, "Look, why don't you just sell the car?" And I'm like, "But I want and I need a Porsche in my life. I've gotten to this point. I don't want to go back." She couldn't understand why I would want another one. Mm-hmm. And so I said, "Well, look, I'm going to get the GT3." I don't know why this rationale was in my head because the thing just had a stop sale.
Uh-huh.
My rationale was that they wouldn't let it.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the bad publicity and what happened with the stop sale.
Right.
That this car is going to be vetted and perfected.
Uh-huh.
And so I had an opportunity to, I got an allocation because people backed out of their spots.
Right.
So I was on the phone with the Ocala dealership just north of here.
Right.
And I was putting a deposit down. I was going to order a white 991.1, a 2014 GT3. Mm-hmm. And while I kid you not, I couldn't make the story up. While I'm on the phone, the Orlando dealership calls me where I bought my Carrera S and said, "We've got," like, they didn't even know I was looking. "We've got a sapphire blue," which was what I really wanted. I was just too chicken to buy it because nobody had ever had a sapphire blue anything. Now they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to take credit for that.
You're the pioneer?
There was no sapphire blue anything anywhere.
You're the OG sapphire blue?
There was one picture online, of the color, and they said, "We just had it show up. The guy backed out. Do you want it? You've got 20 minutes."
Okay, no pressure.
I said, "Hold on one second." I told Ocala, I said, "Michael," my friend Michael Zimmerman said, "Hey, let me call you back. I'm getting a spec sheet on this GT3." So he sent me the spec sheet. It was like, carbon ceramics, yes. The gray stitching, sapphire blue, aluminum, all this, everything I wanted. A few things I didn't, like light design package and crap that I had to overpay for. And I went down. So my 4-month-old $127,000 Carrera S, I traded for $98,000.
Ooh,
it still hurts my soul. And I bought the GT3 sticker, $156,000. Mm-hmm. I almost crapped a brick because I got in the GT3. Now, no one really had these things. I got in the GT3, drove off the lot. And if you've never driven one, you wouldn't know that the PDK-S, there's no packing. There's no packing in the clutches. So it's just, there's no insulation underneath there,
so it's noisy.
So it sounds like it's broken.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's click, clack, clunk, and it stumbles up to the line, and I'm like, oh my God. Now, I didn't have $156,000 at the time.
Right.
I did in my 401k, but not in my checking account.
Okay, yeah.
So I was taking on a rather substantial loan
yes.
to buy this thing. And I'm just coming off of the worst 3 months of my life. I couldn't drive for a while. And I'm like, I had a panic attack at the darn stoplight where my new beautiful GT3. I bared it, grinned, drove home. And then I immediately got on the forum and said, "Is this supposed to do this?" And everybody's like, "Yes, that's normal."
That's normal.
And that blue GT3 changed my life.
That was that. I saw that car in person. That color was incredible.
It was fantastic, yeah. And so then I took more pictures and more photos than any other human should of a blue GT3, and then. It sort of, I know it inspired lots of other people to say, "Okay, that's a cool color. I'm going to get it." People who like blue.
So for those of you who, for those people that don't understand what the difference is between, let's say, a normal 911 and a GT3, and then a GT3 RS, what is the difference?
Well, let's say between that, now my Carrera S was a manual, and I'm a manual guy, and that was another hard thing to get over.
Yeah, to go to the PDK.
Up until now, in 2018, a GT3 was PDK only.
Right.
And it's not a traditional PDK, it's PDK-S, it's PDK Sport.
Okay.
It's a very different, it's a true automated manual.
Right.
It's so it's so good as a manual, automated manual, that if you put it in auto, it's a horrible experience.
Well,
you're in seventh gear going 28 miles an hour. It's just awful. They do that for emissions.
They do that for fuel mileage and stuff. Like, it gets 25 miles to the gallon. Like, I don't know. It's not very fun when it's doing 25.
So you get in the thing, and you have to really, if you really want to have the best experience driving the car, you have to train yourself that as you come up to a light, you pull the pedals. When you pull both paddles, I should say, when you pull those, it engages neutral.
Yeah.
And so in order for it to not click and clunk and clack up to a stoplight, I've taught, I don't even think about it anymore. It's kind of like pushing in a clutch pedal.
Right.
I pull engage neutral, it works its way down to the first. And so it's really, I'm not making excuses here because I'm a diehard manual guy. It's like driving a manual. You're in control of the car.
Of course, yeah.
You can actually feather the clutch by, adjusting the throttle. I can actually rev on it and the car won't take off like a regular, auto. It's like you can control the clutch a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of slip in the Porsche system and the Mercedes system and all their, the dual clutch systems.
Yep.
There's always, it's definitely not as clunky as like a single clutch, like a Sport Shift and Aston Martin or SMG. Like those are bad.
Yeah.
Like the Gallardo's E-Gear, that's horrible. That's like really, if you want to talk about, OCD triggering, this will trigger OCD in people who don't have OCD. Like, it's real bad. But the PDK kind of alleviates a lot of that. It's still a little bit there. It's not as smooth as like a regular torque converter automatic, but it is very livable, and it also gives you like a little bit of that like sportiness. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little bit of
that like engage in the gear, that snap.
Exactly. It's the crisp. Yeah, that's what it gives you. And when you shift, you could shift at low RPMs, going 15 miles an hour, and it's immediate. Yeah. And it's like you hear everything change. You hear like the timing change. There's so much going on, and the car just feels way better put together than a manual would have in that same car. And that's what I like. Every time I drive a Porsche with the PDK, it just seems like this makes a lot of sense for this car.
It does. And so they force us to have that option, which many would not have chosen or even given the chance. And I'm grateful for it because the experience really is great. So the PDK is very different in the GT3 than it is in the regular Porsches.
Right. Yeah.
And then another sort of interesting fact with that generation with the 991.1 GT3, they continue to improve it. But the motor, the oiling issue, the catching on fire issue, they fixed pretty quickly. But there's still an oiling issue with the motor. The finger followers tend to wear prematurely, and so there's an E series motor, which my 2014 had.
Okay.
Then there's an F series motor and a G series motor. Do you recall seeing the press release that Porsche gave a 100,000-mile, 10-year warranty to the 2014s?
Doug DeMuro just got a giant smile on his face.
So they came and stepped up and said, "Hey, we're going to stand behind this motor," because several of them had failed with an issue that was outside of the stop sale. They'd fixed that. But the motor, believe it or not, the motor that these EFG series motors in the GT3, it's the same 9A1 variant, and this is why these cars got in a lot of trouble or got a lot of flack, because the 997s had the Metzger,
Metzger engine,
right? Had a race inspired,
that thing was like bulletproof, would never die. That sort of thing.
It's just it had been tested, it had been on the circuit. Where this 9A1 is just a Carrera S motor that's tuned up, different head, and different plenum, and different crankshaft and things, but the beauty of it is that redlined at 9,000 RPM. It's just insane.
You know what's really hard, and a lot of people don't understand this. They don't get because I think we're a little bit spoiled in how good cars are, how good cars can be. It's very, very hard to have a car that revs to a high amount and have it be reliable. Like have it not lunch its bearings. Make sure that oiling is correct, and like you have a car that's meant for a track. That's really hard to do on a production level. Yeah. If you have a race car,
I'll have you know, with my 1982 RX-7, that car did not even have a rev limiter, and I did 35,000 miles in a year with minimal issues.
It's just 35,000 miles at 10,000 RPM, right?
Yes.
That's how you started.
Oh boy, the FD rotary guys, you gotta love them.
I wrote.
Have fun with that.
So I wrote an article for Jalopnik. I said, "Here's why. This is why the rotary engine sucks, or rotary engines suck." Dude, I got death threats.
I'm sure, yeah.
I got death threats from angry people.
I got people wanting to fight me because they don't like Corvettes.
Oh
So.
yeah. But you could have an opinion on Corvettes, but rotary, you screw with rotaries, man, you are in a world of hurt.
Hey, it's fine. People, they're just misunderstood.
Especially with your last name being Hernandez.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's then your own people will come after you.
Yeah.
That's true. There are a lot of people in the Caribbean and all that
that
stuff.
love FDs, man.
Puerto Ricans especially, yeah.
It's not even FDs, just the rotary engine
Rotary
itself.
platform.
They'll put it in
Yeah.
anything. Put it in Toyota Corollas, all that stuff. Yeah.
Dude, I would kill to have a Suzuki Samurai with a rotary swap. Those are awesome.
Who would you kill?
We'll talk about that off air.
Okay, so
anyway, the GT3 9,000 RPM, different transmission,
Right.
killer, the wing, the whole nine.
yeah, and then the RS is a little bit
wider hips. It has the turbo intakes, a wider front end. The biggest difference between the GT3 and the GT3 RS is the front end. The front end grip. So if you got in and drove one and you had some seat time in each car, you would say, well, the experience is pretty much the same. You don't feel the slight power difference.
Right.
You don't feel the aero. If you say you do, you're full of crap. You'd have to be doing 180 to recognize the difference.
or professional race driver or something. Yeah.
What you'll feel is front end. So you have 245s and a slightly, I forget what the wheel width is, but I think it's a half-inch narrower wheel on the RS. You have a slightly, I think it's 20 millimeters wider in the front.
Yeah.
And then you have a 265 in the front. It's front end grip.
Is it more of a square stance? Because I know the back end is what, like a 305, 295?
No, because they go up to 325 in the rear. So,
okay.
So
Yeah.
the RS has 20, 21 front rear and 265, 325.
Okay.
The GT3s are 20s front and rear, 245, 305. So they do, they keep the stagger, but it's just it's the front end, and then the presence of that car when you're driving it feels really wide. But there's just something about, even though the RS is not worth $60, $80, $90, $100,000 more than the GT3. No question. It's not even close. It's worth maybe 10 grand more.
Yeah.
Performance
it's a slight, I'm not going to say it's an appearance package because it's more than that, but it's an appearance and performance package.
Right. For me, for a hack driver like me, it's completely unnecessary, but my entire life's pursuit has been GT3 RS. That's the vision. That's the car. It's the only car I have right now because I sold my truck last week. I've been driving around town and loving every gosh darn second of it.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where if you got a GT3 and then somebody pulled up in a GT3 RS, like Jeremy Clarkson, like, you'd have to kill yourself.
Well, I go to the mountains twice a year with a bunch of some of my best friends in the world.
I saw a video on
all
that.
the GT car guys, and all of them were getting RSs, and I was just getting a little old Maddie driving a stinky old GT3. There were like 3 of us left.
Stinky old GT3. What is that thing? 2 years old? Come on.
Now a bunch of them have sold their RS and gotten a 991.2 manual.
Okay.
Because they thought, and then they're all trying to get RSs again. So
I don't think that newer cars, because the more that they innovate technology, the more engines get better and more efficient, and the power bands go up. I think manual makes less sense because you have a lot less control of, like, if you have a PDK, that engine talks to the transmission and vice versa. They know exactly what they're doing at all times. With the manual, the fact that you're injecting that clutch means that you can disconnect that at any point.
Yeah, I'll have videos here this week of GT4 manual. Obviously, only comes in manual only, and then I drove a 991.2 regular GT3 manual, an ultraviolet one. So it was an individual because they don't do the GT3 and ultraviolet. They only did the RS.
Okay,
and then I drove the 911 Touring.
Right.
And so the .2 6-speed manual, you have the 6-speed manual, completely different gearing, different clutch, different. It's a different motor. It's the Carrera S motor in the GT4, and then the Touring. So the Touring and the GT3 are the same. Just one has a wing, one doesn't, and then some minor interior differences. I'm a little confused on that because I'm a diehard manual guy. I really like the manual in the GT4. I really like the manual in the Carrera S.
Is that the 6-speed or the 7-speed?
The Carrera S is a 7-speed. The
Yeah, so I've driven that one, yeah.
The GT4 has the really oddly geared 6-speed.
Okay.
Really tall, really long gears, which people complain a lot. Actually, Sharkworks, they have a gearing package. I think it's like $65,000 to improve or change the gearing in the GT4.
That seems like the cost of a car.
Or like every car I've ever owned.
That's right.
Put together.
All the cars I own can be
I think it's
other than
twice.
one. Yeah.
Twice the value.
Guys are paying for it.
I bought a Lamborghini for that.
But it's interesting because if you've ever driven a 997 GT3,
I have not.
super harsh. Clutch pedal, I mean, you're literally going to have a bigger left quad than right.
Yeah.
Just a really, really rough experience, especially the RS.
Yeah.
Really harsh, super raw, Metzger engine. Everything's great about it, but it's not something you're going to want to drive around town.
Of course.
Now, the new GT3 is the softest, lightest, very smooth. It's not bad. It's very good, it's very direct, very smooth.
It's the Camry of GT3s? Is it
No, but it's a little too soft.
It lost kind of that raw.
So
Yeah,
I
so
think it has
visceral.
to be accessible, though. I mean, considering the people who are buying them, they have money, so it's usually not going to be the younger crowd.
And I don't want it to be 997. I wouldn't want it to be. That's the beauty of the 991, the current generation. But I think it's if you have one. So in the 911 Touring, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
My new current dream is 911 Touring Daily Driver, GT3 RS, and then just bag every other car in the world, and I'm going to own two of the same car, and I'm going to be that guy.
Have you seen the new 911? Have you seen the new Spy Shots?
992, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'll hate it because it'll be a goofy turbo.
Okay, but I mean, they're probably going to make a GT3, which is not going to be the turbo.
Well,
it's
we'll
gonna be
see.
Like 4 point something.
We'll see. Yeah, well, the GT3, hopefully, they stay naturally aspirated. But then the regular Carrera, I mean, again, I have an RS, so I can't go back.
They're really good. I mean, even the Carrera turbos,
it's great.
They're really good.
Yeah, they just sound like crap. You have torque, and they just don't sound as good.
But the 911s never really sounded all that great. I mean, other than like the real high dollar ones, like
the Carrera S. The Carrera S sounds pretty incredible. It sounds like a GT4. In fact, in many ways, I like the way the Carrera S sounds more than the GT3. Call me crazy.
Oh, nice. So what year Carrera S?
The 14. So the 14,
so
15,
the
16.
997.2.
No, the 991.1.
That was
not the 991.2.
Okay, I got you.
The .2 is when they went to turbo.
Okay.
So then you have torque, but you have turbo sound.
Okay.
It's not terrible. They've done about as good a job as they can. Unlike Mercedes and BMW, it's just god awful.
Okay, let's not get off in the weeds because I'm about to have an argument here. But the
C63 garbage.
So you know what, man?
I'm staying out of this.
We're all just trying to have a good time.
I'm staying out of this.
But I drove a 997-2 with PDK Turbo S.
Yep.
And I loved every single thing about that car. It's so accessible to everybody. Like you can put your grandma in that car and she could drive it. It's one of the fastest cars that anybody's ever going to drive.
Yep.
It does 0 to 60 in like 2.8 seconds. It's crazy. The only thing is, it sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
It's so gutless. It's you put it in sport mode, nothing happens. It's just hilarious. But then they come out with a GT3 and it just sounds like insanity.
Yeah, but I mean, the turbo, let's say you're a doctor and you live in suburban Boston and you commute into the city, a GT3 is just not going to be suitable for that. But
doctors buy GTRs, and GTRs are loud.
But a Turbo S,
Yeah, it's definitely for doctors, but doctors get the Cabrio. Let's be honest. They get the Cabrio. They go down to Miami with their secretaries and that's what they do. Sometimes they do track events and then they spend way too much money and then
So the .2 RS is the one.
That's the one for you.
Yeah.
Until the new one comes out and then you're going to want that one.
Well, of course. But the .2 RS now has the RSR build, the race bred engine.
Yeah.
Sounds different, and then they improved the front end even more. It's like I'll have a video up this week. It's just magical.
So if you put, let's say you put the RS front end, like wheels or suspension package on a GT3, would it just be the same?
Well, you couldn't fit it because of the fenders and stuff, but yeah. Same car, same experience, same interior, same everything.
I'm sure they have fenders.
15 more horsepower.
Yeah.
You do not feel.
Yeah, that's most likely an ECU tune or something like that.
And the aero negates that extra horsepower anyway.
Right.
So
now, there is a way you could get those fenders to fit. You just call Nakai-san and have him come over and do the RWB thing, have him hack up your car.
Do you want me to have more people hate me?
Yeah. Let's do that.
We don't want me talking about that.
Quick before we end, what is your opinion? Because I have a very strong opinion on RWB stuff, and it's not what a lot of people like. A lot of people say, oh, it's an art. He comes over and he does all this stuff, and I'm just imagining like someone like Matt Moorman. Like, I spent so much time trying to get this car perfect and everything, and then this guy takes like some Harbor Freight tools and he just hacks it up, and he does everything kind of great. People are willing to pay him $20,000, but I really don't see the
RWB is about culture, right?
Yeah,
it's a culture.
It's like modern art.
I punt that culture in the trash, but that's just not my style. I don't hate it. I don't hate on it. I think it's fantastic. I think all car culture is great. Even the the Hella Flush guys and the
even
guys.
Donks.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I don't hate on it. I would never ever do it. I think it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
If you gave me an RWB, I'd say, well, can I give it back? Can I sell it first?
Can I sell it? Yeah,
it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, it's probably best to do that.
I'll tell you right now, if I had the money, I'd do it.
You do it?
I would absolutely do it.
Okay, so what about it do you like?
I like the culture. I kind of bought into the whole like Porsche hipster, like he's an artist. He comes over and only drinks Coca-Cola from glass bottles and sits in your shop and smokes. It makes it smell bad, and it takes these Harbor Freight tools and hacks up the car. I like the end product. I think that I don't know how well it would stand like the test of time, because he's just like smearing caulk into the body lines with his finger. I don't know how long that would last. But
because the thing is, I could do that. I could do that in my garage right now.
But end product, the way that those cars look and the way that they apparently drive, all in.
I can't imagine that it drives well.
So I can't either. I know that they probably drive all right. I mean, all you have to do is make sure that it doesn't rub, and that's it. Because
but you've got 3 45s in the rear.
But nobody's tracking these things. These are showpieces.
Oh no, they are.
They're tracking these.
Yeah. There's the Idler's race series that they like this. It's big for these RWB guys to take their cars over to the.
Yeah, but the funny thing, the dudes that are buying these are rich dudes who aren't hipsters.
Right.
They aren't artists. They're
investors. They want to invest and sell the car later and make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know. It's just something. As far as the work is concerned, I'd love to see. What I would do is I would buy, an old 9. What do you do it on 964s, 993s?
He has a whole bunch of different.
Sure. So I would buy one of those, just some old one, and I would get a kit. But I would say we can skip the part where he comes out and does the thing.
You can't skip that part.
Just send me the parts.
You can't skip that
because I can do what he does. That's pretty easy. Like it's really. I've seen the video. Like he literally rivets stuff and he cut like. I can do that. I'm pretty capable of doing that. If not, there's plenty of body shops around. Any body shop in the world can do that. So I'm...
Well, you'd be tempted to then mold it, actually.
I'd be tempted to like re-engineer. It's like, wow, this is done really poorly. But
again, I totally understand it. I get it. I think it's cool. I think it'd be cool to see. I think it's great. But if you gave me one, it's just not my style. The cool thing about Porsche is there's so much subculture. You got the Magnuses of the world, and you've got the RWB. You've got the hardcore track racer types. You've got the F1 and the GT series types.
You got the 356 guys. You got the 912 guys.
Yeah,
and then you have
vintage guys.
Then you have like the late 90s, early 2000 Boxster guys, which no one really talks about.
Those are like the 914 guys, because those are like
guys.
Those are like 1500 OBO Craigslist. I know what I have.
Those are all the guys that show up to the Porsche Club events. And then you got guys like me who are all about the detail and the the engineer types. It's really cool, all the different cultures
for that one brand, which is really neat.
Oh yeah, of course. All right. So on that note, I think we're gonna get a lot of haters in the comments, but hopefully not. Hopefully not, because
Hey,
we're just
you know what? Not your car. No one cares. Stay mad. Come at me, bro. Let's roll.
We're just being honest, and it's good to have an honest conversation with honest car guys. So if you'd like to reach any of us, especially Matt Mormon over there, you can check him out at Obsessed Garage. That is Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. He has a Facebook closed group. You have to have a
Just
few.
answer the questions and don't be a jerk about it.
Answer the questions. Don't be a jerk, and you'll get in. It's a really good group to be in.
If you're into detailing in any capacity, it is a group
It's
worth
garage
being in.
culture.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about being obsessed.
Yes, it's about being obsessed, which we all are. And if you'd like to check him out on YouTube, you have a pretty awesome YouTube channel, Obsessed Garage, as well. And if you'd like to check us out, we are at carguystalk@gmail.com, and all our social stuff will be down below. But until next time, this is me, Tavarish, for Andrew Howell and Matt Mormon, saying keep your car clean. How about that?
That's
Keep
a
your car
good
clean
idea.
and make sure it's a Porsche.
Porsche.
Oh no!